Have you ever wondered why some people seem to absolutely crush their goals and for others it's just a bit of a struggle? If so, you are not alone, friend. I felt the same way for the longest time, to the point where I wouldn't even set goals because I just didn't see the point. But the secret to achieving your goals is not rocket science, and it's something we can all do really easily. So stay tuned because I am going to reveal the secret in just a minute. Hello and welcome to week 2 of the Define Your Goals Challenge. If this is your first week joining us, then I'm going to need you to do 2 things. Number 1, drop down into the description box below and sign up to grab your free goal planning template in Notion. You'll also get the lowdown on the Define Your Goals Challenge as well as all of the information from week 1. Then number 2, I highly recommend going back and watching last week's video so you can get all of the juicy goal setting principles that we went over before we dive into this week's topic. And so with that, let's get started. Now, if you've been waiting for the secret to achieving your goals, here it is. Allow yourself to succeed. That's it. Allow yourself to succeed. Now, before you click away and say that is way too simple, don't worry, we're going to get into what to do about it in just a second. But first, let me ask you this question. Have you ever not done something because you're afraid of what would happen if you succeeded? Afraid to push publish on that new YouTube video, or afraid to submit your resume for an amazing job opportunity that you don't feel qualified enough for? I know for the longest time that I kept things status quo because I was afraid of what would happen if I actually did the thing that I really wanted to do. So in order to best set ourselves up for success, we need to create a plan of action, and that is what we're gonna do today. The reason this is so powerful is because when we actually create a plan of action, we're removing all of the excuses to say, this is too hard or I don't know how, because you already mapped out exactly how to do it. So let's hop into our Notion template and actually plan out these goals. So we are going to head back into our brainstorming section where we wrote down all of our goals from last week and start there. If you have not done that yet, please go watch last week's video and get all of those goals written down first. Today we are going to actually open up each of our goals and do the planning portion. Last week, my challenge to you was to sit with your goals for the week, kind of reflect on them, pray about them, whatever that looks like for you, so that you know that your goals that you wrote down are actually relevant in your life right now. I ended up changing one of my goals. I made my goal to work out a tad bit more specific, so I changed it to incorporating daily movement 6 times a week. The reason I did this is because I didn't want to do anything too crazy rigid on myself. I feel like when I put the expectation of myself to sit down and do a workout video or whatever it might be, it sometimes hinders me from actually doing the goal. By saying that I'm going to do daily movement 6 times a week, that allows me to incorporate other types of movement that might not be a full-on workout, like taking my dogs on walks, because that is still movement and it totally counts. I did also add 2 goals. One is to learn how to macrame. I have been talking with my mom about this one. She used to macrame and I really want to learn how to make some plant holders or maybe some wall hangings for the house. Who knows, we'll see. And the second one is to read 6 books this year. I want to become more of a reader, and I know I am a slow and inconsistent reader right now, so 6 felt very doable to me, especially since this is just a fun goal. I do also have another goal that's not showing on here because it is a carryover from last year, and I feel pretty good about how I planned that out when I first moved it around, so I'm just gonna leave that for now. Today I'm going to walk you through 1 or 2 of my goals and how I plan them out so you can see that process in Notion. I'm going to start with the reading goal, and the first thing that we're going to do is fill out the quarters in which I want to complete the goal. Then below we see that there is a place to write down the challenge and the solution. Now these might not always be filled in, but just in case there is a roadblock that feels like you can't get past, write it down and take a minute to come up with the solution so that you know there's a way around it. For me, I know it is a challenge to find time that I can be consistent about reading. I like to read before bed, and that's great for fiction books, but for things that I want to take notes on, that is not a great time. So my solution is going to be to audit my routine and see if there's a better time for me to fit in a reading habit. Next, we're going to come up with a plan of action to see this goal through. First, as I said above, I need to evaluate my routine and find a good time for reading. I also know that I want to get a library card set up because I don't want to always have to buy the book I want to read. Then I also want want to go ahead and pick out which 6 books I want to read to eliminate that friction point in choosing what book I'm going to read next. There are a few action items here to include in the tasks table, so I'm just gonna add those to the table below. I'm making sure to include a due date here so that I give myself a timeline for these actions. I also am just gonna go ahead and link my reading habit to this goal because that is related to this goal and something I want to work on. To add a new habit, you can either click right here to add the habit, or you can head to the habits page from your goal dashboard and add one that way. We are going to be talking more about the habits portion of the goal planner next week, so be sure to tune in. Now, I know my reading goal is going to be a numbers-based goal since I want to read 6 books. So I'm gonna go ahead and add 6 to the total number and put 0 as the number done at the moment. On my planner, you might notice there are quite a few other properties. I do have my finance page connected to this, so I can include financial goals if I want to. And if you want the exact template that I personally use, you can grab that in the description box below. But I do want to note that in the free template you get with this goal challenge, there are a few different ways to quantify your goal. One is to use numbers like I did for my books. The second is coming down here and adding action items into the table to count your tasks associated with the goal. This option is super nice because Notion automatically updates your progress for you as you mark your tasks off and you don't have to calculate it. Then lastly, if your goal is only quantifiable by a habit, the progress bar will automatically update if you link a habit to the goal, and I will show you an example of that in my next one. Just know that the progress bar is going to first look at your numbers. If there are no numbers, it's going to then look at your tasks, and if there are no tasks, it's going to look for habits. This offers you some flexibility on how you want to choose to quantify your goal, but no matter what you choose, you're still going to be able to see that progress happening in real time. So for this goal, it's going to look at my numbers since I added in the 6 books that I want to read, and as you can see, if I update this from 0 to 1, my progress increases. Okay, so my reading goal is all planned out now, and I want to show you how it looks to plan my daily movement goal. This one is going to be a bit different because I am basing this off a habit. I'm gonna come up here and choose quarter 1 because I want to get right on this goal right away in the new year. And then I'm gonna head down to the challenge and solutions portion. One challenge I have, just like my reading challenge, is that I don't really know when it is that I want to work out. Lots of people say to get up early and do it in the morning, but I'm not really sure I like that. I kind of like the afternoon better, but I also don't know if that really works into my schedule. So there's some things to figure out there. My solution to that is going to again be to evaluate my routine and see if I can find a good time for me to work out. You might have noticed I did not add that as an action item to my reading goal, and I'm also not gonna add it here because we're gonna talk about habits and routines in the next week's video, so I already know I'm going to be evaluating my routines then. Then for measuring my goal, all I'm actually going to do here is track my workout habit for quarter 1 and see where it goes. So I'm gonna link that habit right here. I have my own little system in place to review my habits, which I'm gonna talk about more next week. But as I evaluate my habits and decide how I'm doing on them, I can update the status of that habit, which is what's going to increase the progress bar in my goal. I like to consider something a habit after solidly doing it for like 2 months. This number is a little bit different for everybody, so you can tailor that time frame to you, but to me, 2 months feels really reasonable and also solidified. All right, so those are 2 examples of how I would set up my goals in the goal planner. My challenge for you this week is to go ahead, set up all of your goals, and make sure that you have a way to measure all of them. As we talked about last week, projects and tasks are great ways to break down your goals to make them feel more manageable. I broke down my goals into tasks and habits in the examples that I gave, and I usually reserve projects for really big goals, which happen a lot more in my biz than in my personal life. But hopefully this still gave you a great example of how you can break down your goals to make them feel more achievable. Lastly, I want to encourage you guys to be sure to give yourself some grace. Now, that doesn't mean to not do the tasks that you said you're going to do, but if you're really struggling to get your tasks done or your projects done, it is okay to move your timeline a little bit. This doesn't need to be some rigid regime to make sure you're getting your tasks done on the exact day that you said you were going to do them. And to cover up any mishaps that may occur with our goals, we are going to talk about how to rework goals that don't seem to be fitting in with our current season of life during the last week of the challenge. So be sure to stick around for that. And with that, you guys, you have completed week 2 of the Define Your Goals challenge. Give yourself a pat on the back. You're halfway there and the new year is almost almost here. We are gonna absolutely crush it. If you liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so that you do not miss the last 2 weeks of this challenge. They are going to be good. Have a very happy new year, and I will see you guys next week. Bye guys.